Hello and welcome to Videojug. We're going to show you how to improve your classical seat with the help of equine expert Maylin McEwen. She's a British Horse Society certified instructress and has worked in equine horse management for over 21 years. Step 1. The correct position. But what exactly is a correct classical seat? Put simply, it's when the rider's centre of gravity is perfectly positioned and aligned in the saddle. Here, Maylin is showing us the correct position. See how there's a perfectly straight line from the ear to the shoulder, to the hip, to the heel. And another straight line from the horse's mouth up through the reins to the elbow. Notice how straight she is from behind. From her head, right down through her body. From the front too, we can see a clear vertical line of balance. The foundation of a good seat comes from the pelvis, which should always be upright and with equal weight on each seat bone and the pubic bone. Step 2. There are many benefits for both horse and rider in improving your riding seat. It not only helps you to stay balanced as the horse is moving, but you'll have easier communication with him and be able to apply the aids more effectively. Your horse listens to your body weight, so it's much better when it's evenly distributed. Quite simply, it's much more comfortable for your horse, and you'll do his back less damage in the long term. Let's have a look at some riding seat problems and solutions. Step 3. Correcting the chair position. One of the most common problems is known as the chair position. This is when the lower leg comes forward. This position causes problems as you can easily get behind the movement of your horse, which causes you to tip backwards and grip up with your legs, as we can see Amber demonstrating. Riders with this position have too much weight on their seat bones. Notice how there's no straight line from a hip to heel. Solutions. Firstly, take away the stirrups by crossing them over the saddle in front of you. Then wiggle around in the saddle to feel all 3 points, the seat bones and the pubic bone. Circle the ankles towards the horse. This exercise really helps relax the hip at the top. Try swinging your lower leg forwards and then backwards, meaning when one leg is forward, the other is back. Keeping the toes in and the heels out so as not to kick your horse. Hold the front of the saddle with one hand and with the other grab an ankle and really point your knee to the floor. This strengthens and opens the hips and pelvis. Hold this position for 30 seconds. Relax and then repeat with your other leg. Here's another exercise to try. Holding both reins in one hand, bring both legs up to the top of the saddle and then push both legs back down towards the hocks of the horse without tipping forward. This will stretch your hip flexors. Relax and repeat this exercise several times. Now see how Amber has a correct line from her hip to her heel. Step 4. Correcting lower leg problems. Another major rider error is a wobbly lower leg problem. This is when the lower leg swings loosely backwards and forwards, as the weight isn't in her heels. This will cause the rider to tip forward in a seesaw effect, as her leg isn't properly secured around her horse's side. This can cause tension in the lower back and impedes your horse's movement. Solutions. With the stirrups taken away, stretch your legs pointing your toes to the floor and then level your heel with your toes. This helps to stretch the leg longer. There never should be any tension in the knees. Take your legs away from the horse's side, demonstrated by Melanie, and then place them gently back on. Repeat this movement several times. Pretend you're riding a bicycle and cycle really fast. This loosens the entire leg and again helps to stretch it down and lengthen it. Try this exercise whilst moving and whilst static. Now see how her leg is beautifully secured around her horse's side, how her balance is maintained and the horse's rhythm is more even. Step 5. Correcting upper body problems. There are several upper body problems that come from tension or bad posture. Tension in the head and neck, as demonstrated here by Charlotte, is a major problem. See how her head strains forward and unbalances her entire body. Another common fault is rounded shoulders, which leads to a slouched back. This is when the rider takes the horse's movement through the upper body and not through the small of her back. Solutions. To relieve some of that tension, drop your head to the chest and then look up. Tip your head to the left, then to the right. Drop your head to the chest. Now repeat again. Have a friend hold your horse if he's the excitable type. Now your head should be aligned by keeping it straight but relaxed. Circle an arm backwards with the chest and shoulders open, loosening any tension in the shoulders. Stretch up from the waist and breathe in on the way up and out on the way down. Then repeat with the other arm. We need to lift up the diaphragm to correct the slouch back, so begin by stretching both arms outwards to shoulder height. Then stretch upwards, as if climbing a ladder, with the right arm, then the left, the right, and continue remembering to breathe as well. Repeat this exercise a few times. Now see how relaxed her head and neck are, and notice how her shoulders are no longer slouched. Step 6. Correcting hip problems. Any hip problems such as sitting crookedly come from the pelvis, with one hip collapsing, as demonstrated here by Jade. Notice how her right shoulder drops, and seen from the back, how her stirrups are uneven, the right leg being longer than the left. Solutions. The rider needs to firstly find the 3 points of their pelvis and distribute their weight evenly by sitting on their hands and wiggling to feel their seat bones. If your tendency is to collapse to the right, then look over your right shoulder to the horse's tail. Then look ahead. The hips instantly become more square on. If you tend to collapse to the left, then look over your left shoulder. Bring the knees up and then put the legs against the horse. Pull away the flat of the inner thigh from behind. This really helps to deepen your seat. Now see how perfectly aligned and straight she is, even her shoulders and legs. Step 7. Correcting hand problems. Notice how the reins are flapping 1 minute and then tense the next. How rigid her arms are, and how uncomfortable a horse appears to be around the mouth. Solutions. Hold the reins in one hand and raise your arm to shoulder level. Practice this first in walk and then in trot. Place your whip in between the thumbs, bend the elbows and ride in walk and trot, keeping the whip level. This exercise is very good for steadying the hands. Try placing a plastic cup in each hand filled with some water. With the reins at normal contact, start to walk and try not to spill any water. Now see how the reins straighten and how she carries her hands. Hands and rein contact need to be elastic, sensitive and allowing. You should now be sat correctly in the classical seat, your weight evenly distributed and the spine aligned to the centre of gravity. Step 8. Here's a quick guide to help you maintain your good classical seat. Have some lunging lessons from a qualified instructor. This will prove very beneficial. Ride occasionally without stirrups. Get a friend to observe your seat, and maybe you can observe theirs. Mimic a rider that you admire. Observe them very closely. And whatever your age or ability, practice, practice, and practice again. But most of all, have some fun. Now that you're improving your riding skills, why not play the other riding training videos here on the Videojug website?